All right, welcome back to the Net to Net podcast with your hosts Sam Kelty and Casey Kirsch. We are down one of our guys today, but that's okay. So today we're talking about NBA podcast. It's been a minute since we've done it, since the season really has just been in the off season and not much has gone on. But over the last 3 or 4 days, there has been a lot of change up with some teams, and we're gonna dump in and dive right in and also talk about who we have as our favorites going to the NBA Finals and previewing the teams and how they've done this offseason and looking forward to the beginning of the season. So I'm going to swing it over to Casey.
Yeah, so we've had some crazy trades in the past few days. Something that I don't think anyone saw coming. Damian Lillard getting traded over to the Milwaukee Bucks for a trade package including Jure Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, an unprotected first-round pick from Milwaukee, and two unprotected first-round pick swaps in 2028 and 2030. The Suns get Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson in the deal. Just kind of another move for them to get some more depth. They're kind of just ready to get rid of the DeAndre Ayton saga, it seems like. But of course, we'll start off with Damian Lillard. Finally gets his move out of Portland. We saw he requested a trade earlier in the summer, specifically to Miami. And although there were rumors that he only wanted to go to Miami, it seems like so far he's happy that he's going to another contender in Milwaukee. Maybe it wasn't his preferred destination, but Giannis is going to be by and far the best player he's ever played with. A two-time MVP, a champion. Milwaukee is a lot of their championship core still together. Great defense that's built around him, shooting, and obviously that paint presence that Giannis and Brook Lopez brings. I would say Milwaukee gets an A in this deal for sure. I don't think that they... I honestly think this is a great trade for them. Damian Lillard and Giannis are going to be perfect fits next to each other. Damian Lillard commands that outside the arc, three area, and even extended range, whereas Giannis, anything within the arc, you have to double both of them pretty much. And I don't know how you're able to guard both of them in the pick and roll, especially because Dame can pull up from anywhere. And Giannis, when he rolls to the basket, he's unstoppable. So he's got all his post moves, and he's starting to develop. We'll see if he develops more of a mid-range game, but it doesn't really matter because he can get to the line. Sam, we'll go back to you. How do you see this working out for Milwaukee? What grade do you give them in this deal? Do you think this is enough for them?
Yeah, so I go more of the B plus range. Yes, they give up Jure Holiday, who has been there for a while. Good defender, all star, I believe, last year. Brings you good offense and brings you great defense. They also give up Grayson Allen, he was a starter at the shooting guard position last year. He shot the ball very well from beyond the arc, and he brought you good defense. My only thing is you're now giving up Jrue Holiday, Grayson Allen. You already let Javon Carter leave in the offseason, and now you're going to rely on starting Marshawn Buchanan, we saw some promise, some moments throughout the season, which can maybe translate into something down the road. But now you're kind of left with a less of a weaker bench to go along with that team. Yes, you bring in Damian Lillard, outstanding point guard. The pick and rolls between him and Giannis and him and Brook Lopez are going to be nice. I'm shocked they were able to keep Chris Middleton or Brook Lopez, because I was thinking that Portland would want Chris Middleton or Phoenix would want Chris Middleton, someone with a veteran presence. He wouldn't probably have fit more with Portland than he would with in Phoenix, due to the lack of to who's there. But like I said, yes, you lose a Grayson Allen, you lose a Jure Holiday, you lose Javian Carter in the offseason. But yes, they did pick up Cameron Payne. They did. They still they brought in Malik Beasley, who I think
Yep.
if he gets a chance, he can slide right into that Grayson Allen role of just a 3-and-D kind of player. They used their second round pick in getting Andre Jackson Jr. out of UConn, who is a good shooter from the outside, a good defender. They still have Pat Connaughton, who's been there for a while. So B plus. Just I think they could have tried to get a little more out of it than just Damian Lillard, like you said. But all in all, I think it's a good pickup for Milwaukee.
Yeah, I just don't know who else they would have gone for or anything like that. I know just straight up Jure Holiday. He's a great player and all. I saw him in New Orleans. Really great character, good locker room guy. He's a great defender, obviously. All NBA defender. He's a two-time All Star now. Brings you good offense, all around point guard and everything. I just think Damian Lillard is a better fit for this team. I know the Bucks are a really great defensive team as it is. They have defenders in every position, but you did bring up Javion Carter, who was one of their better off the bench defenders. Who he is a loss, but I would say Damian Lillard more than makes up for it. He's going to bring that volume scoring, that 3-point threat that the other play, Jure Holiday, as much as I hate to say, he doesn't bring that as much, as well as Grayson Allen. I don't think that they're going to be missing them too much when they have Damian Lillard in their locker room and on their team. Um, they did give up another first round pick. A lot of their future is in New Orleans right now for trading for Jure Holiday. But I would say this is more than worth it. We saw those rumors with Giannis saying, "Oh, I'll go anywhere as long as I can win, compete for a title or win." And considering he only has 2 years left on his contract, they kind of needed to make that move where they can convince Giannis, "Hey, Milwaukee for life. You should stay here. Look at what Steph Curry's doing in Golden State. Clay and Draymond, all those guys. We're going to try and build a dynasty for the future." And although a lot of their core is getting older, Damian Lillard, I think he'll age pretty well, just because he's never been the greatest defender, but shooting, as we see in Steph Curry currently, like it's going to stay and it's going to be there for a long time. Like you brought up Malik Beasley, I think that's going to help soften the blow of losing Grayson Allen in that two role. I think he'll end up starting next to Dame and Giannis. Chris, obviously. Pat Connaughton, obviously a steady guy off the bench, another spot-up shooter. They still have Jay Crowder, who didn't really have a great season last year and didn't play the year before for the Suns. But I think if he can get back into that form from 2021 where they made that finals run, he is a steady defender. If he can hit his threes every once in a while, I think they're going to be fine in that area as well. I'm kind of worried in their like wing depth, really, because I don't think they have too much of that outside of Chris Middleton. Maybe
Well, Crowder,
you play Crowder, maybe you play Pat Connaughton, but we'll
because
see there.
you really don't need Crowder to play the four. You were able to keep Bobby Portis, who's going to be that 6 man,
He'll be
and
playing
Bobby
the
Port.
five though most of the time behind
Yeah,
Brook Lopez. Yeah,
well, maybe because now you bring in a Robin Lopez who can just come in and give you minutes. He doesn't have to do much. He's just really there for backup purposes. He can play some defense. You have Bobby Porter slide into the power forward role, and he can create his own shot. He can get a
yep.
bucket and two for the three. He can go. He can play the post. He's kind of like weapon that can do everything. So with they being able to keep Bobby Portis is actually a big and a key part because I think if they would have lost Buddy Portis, then you can have that conversation of what are they going to do with their 4 and 5.
Right, and I think Bobby. I don't know if Robin Lopez will get in the rotation, just given his age and his decline and everything. But he's still a serviceable defender. But I just don't think he'll be in this championship rotation. But we'll move on to Portland's side of the deal. Obviously, we brought up Jure Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tamari Kamara, that first round pick and those two swaps. And I think this is a great haul for Portland as well. And I think I'd probably give him an A- for this deal as well. I think the Bucks slightly got the edge there, but Portland got as much as they were going to get out of any trade package. But for Damian Lillard, they'll never be able to replace him no matter what the trade package is, so I can't give them an A specifically, but they still did get a Jure Holiday. DeAndre Ayton, who can be their franchise center, they've been looking for a long time to move away from Yusuf Nurkic, who has had injury concerns, got his new contract and still hasn't really looked the same. Tamari Kamara, promising guy out of Dayton, second round pick this year. And then obviously those future Bucks picks, which could be very valuable in the future, considering that Portland will most likely be good, considering Scoot and all their young talent getting better at that point. That's 5, 6, 7 years in the future. I mean, you'd hope that they're in their prime at that point. They're good and they're trying to contend. So if they end up getting some good picks from the Bucks as well at that time, that's going to be a bigger boost. So yeah, A- for me.
Yeah, I'd say B. Their best move was getting DeAndre Ayton. I think he's younger than Nurkic. He's more healthier than Nurkic. And now he gets a fresh start. We could tell he didn't really want to be in Phoenix. He moves out of Phoenix, goes to a new situation in Portland where he can be the man center of attention. And I think could make a pairing of with Scoot Henderson and those boys because it's a younger team. You're getting younger, but in that sense, you did lose a few pieces. I would say from your bench core and your starters. Like yes, you can replace Nurkic with Aiton, but then you bring in Tumani Kamara, who is unproven. He's a rookie. But then you lose the likes of Nazir Little and I forget who else.
Keon Johnson.
Keon Johnson, who had meaningful minutes. So it is a young team. Yes, you bring in Matisse Thybulle in free agency. You get a second year of Shaden Sharp. Anthony Simons is probably going to be. We'll see what they do between him and Scoot Henderson, who's going to be at the point guard, who's going to be at the shooting guard. You draft a Chris Murray. It's a young team. No means they're going to probably struggle for a few years. Yes, you get those picks from Damian, but you're hoping that the Bucks picks are going to be bad, so you can with a swap. But the only thing is, Giannis, it more makes sense. Their picks would be more valuable if they didn't get Damian Lillard, and Giannis ends up deciding to leave and not sign that extension because it all kind of hinders on what Giannis does. And Giannis said he wasn't particularly going to sign a new contract if they didn't bring someone in to help kind of push them over to win another chip. Damian does that. So their picks are probably going to be lower down in the draft, which because you have Giannis, you have Chris Middleton, still you still have Brook Lopez, so that's the thing.
Right, but in 5 years, do you think they're going to still have Chris Middleton will be retired? Giannis won't be. If he's still playing, he won't be very good or as good at least. And Damian Lillard will be retired as well. So
yes, getting Jure Holiday brings something in, but then you flip Jure Holiday, and we'll talk about that trade later. And I think in the next trade we'll talk about. I think that's where the Blazers really won.
Right. And I think those picks are going to be good though, because I mean, look at the Bucks roster and what good young players do they even have right now? They don't have any of their future picks. New Orleans owns their draft for the next 4 years, and then Portland owns it after that. So it's not like they're going to have high draft picks. Exactly. They're not a free agent destination, and as soon as Giannis is done playing there, it's kind of over for them. So I know as a Pelicans fan, I was rooting for Giannis to leave just so we can get better picks, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, and it doesn't look like those picks are going to be very valuable for us. But in the future, I'm sure they will be because their whole core is getting older for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we can move over to the Phoenix side of this trade. So they ended up trading away DeAndre Ayton for Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and Keon Johnson. Like I said earlier, this is just another move for depth. And like Sam brought up earlier as well, it didn't seem like DeAndre Ayton wanted to be there anymore. He's kind of fed up with their whole system. And although Monty Williams is gone, and that seemed like that was the biggest part of him clashing with the Suns organization, I don't think he wants to be a fourth fiddle on a Suns team that's is looking to compete for a championship. But I think he's looking to prove that was worth the number one pick. I know he looks over into Dallas and he sees Luka Doncic, who was picked third in that draft, and he's a superstar on his team. And DeAndre Ayton has said that he believes he can be a first option, or at least a second option. So I think in Portland, he's going to get a lot of opportunity. He's going to get more shots up. Who knows? He might get the most shots on the team. He's on a max contract. He's still, 24, 25. So I see him trying to prove himself, have a good comeback year, and trying to be the alpha on that young Portland team.
Yeah, for me, the Suns A+. You look at it, and the Suns go out and get Bradley Beal in the offseason. Early on in the offseason, they go get him. They give up Chris Paul and whatnot for him. You bring in a Chris Paul. You already have Devin Booker on a max. You bring in Kevin. You have Kevin Durant's contract. That's pretty big, and you now add Bradley Beal. You don't have a ton of cap space to go out and get someone. Plus, you had Ayton's contract at the time, and they don't have a lot of money to do anything to bring in the depth. They had to get rid of a lot of depth to bring in these big boys. Now you go out and get Grayson Allen in a trade with Keon Johnson, Yusuf Nurkic, and Nazir Little. That's four, maybe three, I would go say more, three players that you can actually play in your rotation or start. One of them can start because Nurkic, he doesn't need to come in and give you 15, 20 a night. He just needs to play good defense, stay healthy, and get boards because you have the scorers on the outsides and the scorers there. You have good bench pieces now with Nazir Little, Keon Johnson, who could probably, if he can get the right steps in playing under Bradley Beal and whatnot, can help. Grayson Allen, you bring in Akeda Bates-Diop, you bring in a Bull, you bring in Eric Gordon for veteran leadership. You bring in you still have Josh Okogie there. They have a better bench than they would have had if they didn't make this trade. Because they got rid of Cameron Payne, which I think was a terrible mistake because you didn't have a point guard on that roster. You honestly still don't have a point guard on this roster. Technically, you can say Sabian Lee is one, but he's a two-way player. So that means is Devin Booker going to play the point guard, or is Eric Gordon going to play the point guard? Who's going to start? Who's going to start where?
I think they said Bradley Beal was going to be the point guard.
That's I don't like that. But this just helps based off of, like, if you look on paper, their bench was bad. You bring in these players, you build out your better bench in trades because you can't go out and sign someone. I think this is an A+ for them.
See, I have to disagree with you there, and I didn't give their grade in the beginning of this segment, but I would give their offseason an A+, sure, or an A even. But I don't really think this trade is an A+ for them. I would go along with the B+ range for this trade, and only because I think DeAndre Ayton is a really good talent. I don't think he was being utilized to the best of what he can do in Phoenix. I think he's going to blossom in Portland. But when we look at the Phoenix side of this, right, Yusuf Nurkic, you brought up three things that he needs to do in order to help this team. One being health, the other being rebounding, and the other being defense, right? So the thing with Nurkic, though, is he is not healthy ever. He gets injured almost every season, right? And he also does not play great defense either. So two of the three things that you bring him in to do, he's not necessarily good at doing, especially over the past few seasons. And even in his prime, Nurkic was never really a great defender. He's always been able to get boards, though. So I think that's what they're looking for in this trade. They think that they can get the same production from Nurkic.
I think they still can. Over the last 2 years, he's played about 50, 56 games over the last 2 years. And that's pretty good from his previous 2 years, from 2019 to 2021. He played 8 games, got hurt, and then he played 37 games, got hurt, and was out for the season. I think he's been better. I don't think he's been injured as much as he used to. And last year he averaged 9 boards a game. The year before that, 11 boards.
Yeah, he'll be good on boards. I'm not worried about that part.
That's all he needs really to do. His defensive efficiency I think his defense over the last few years has gotten better. Like, I don't. I think it's better. You have to say it's better than Aiton's though. Aiton couldn't be on the floor in the fourth quarter. You saw that he could
I'm
not
not
be on the
sure
floor.
if Aiden was really trying as much as he could on the defensive end, because when you talk about the NBA and defending, it's more of effort. All these guys are super athletic, especially Aiden, and I'm sure he just wanted to spend more energy on the offensive end rather than the
Yeah,
defensive.
and that goes to my point is you at least you can trust Nurkic to be out there on the defensive role than you could with Aiton. Aiton couldn't even be played in the fourth quarter. In the last couple minutes of the game, you saw them pull him and play. I forget who it was, but they pull him and go a little smaller lineup because he couldn't play
Yeah,
out
they
there.
would
So
play
that's
Jock Landale sometimes.
mhm.
But I think Aiden has a higher ceiling, especially on the defensive end as well. Uh, Nurkic is getting older, so you're not sure how his body's going to keep holding up over the years. He does have an injury history. You just brought that up. And although he might have played 50, 60 games the past year or two, like, you never know with him. And the fact that he's not going to do all the things that you need him to anyways on the defensive end, like, it kind of brings a question mark in my mind. Grayson Allen, good pickup. I think he's going to do really well in Phoenix as an off-ball player. He's played off superstars before, back in Memphis and in Milwaukee, and he played well there as well. So I'm not worried about him. Nasir Little, same thing. He's a great defender. They needed more defense on this team. He's a good wing player.
Mhm.
He's going to fit in well with Kevin Durant and
I
Booker
like.
and Keon
Mhm.
Johnson. He probably won't play very much,
Yeah,
unless there's injury, but he
but
is a point guard as well. So
we
we'll
talk
see if he gets
about we talk
minutes.
about we talk about the defensive rating, and you bring up, oh, Nurkic isn't that great at defense. Aiton's a little bit better. But if you look at it, last year, Nurkic in 2022-2023 had 114.3 defensive rating, with Aiton only having 111. So there's about 4 point gap between the two in defensive rating last year and this year. Yes, Aiton took a big step because he dropped 2 years ago to a 105, and now he's up to 111. With Nurkic, you have a consistency of 11. He had 111.8. Now he's 114.3. So the defensive rating has gone up. So I would say Nurkic is better
But Sam,
defensive.
dude, Sam, defensive rating is better when it's lower though. So when it's going down, it's better, not when it's going up, because that means you're giving up more. So basically, how it works is that's how many points are scored on your team per 100 possessions, and that's
Mhm.
what your rating is based off of. So if it's 114, your team is getting scored on 114 per 100
But you also have to
possessions.
look at the teams they were playing on. You would think if Nurkic joins this kind of a team, they're probably going to score less because they're not going to have the
Right.
ball in their hands. With
Right, but
Portland, you
Portland
didn't
did
have the
have some
ball.
good defenders. They brought in a Jeremy Grant. They still had Nasir Little. And they didn't they haven't been a great defensive team over Nurkic's tenure there, but
No.
I would say that they had a better defense than Phoenix did last year, especially after the Mikal Bridges trade.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Mikal Bridges is an all-star, all defensive team player.
Yeah,
You can't compare that to.
but that's what I'm saying though is I think they need that defense, right? That they lost with Mikal Bridges. They have enough
Mhm.
scoring. I'm not worried about that. They need health and they need rebounding and defending, like you said, right? But I
Yes.
don't think he provides two of the
No.
three. That's what I'm worried about. That's
Oh,
why I
okay.
don't give this an A+.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other pieces that they got are incredible. They're going to be fit in well. You brought up the depth and everything that they need. So that's why this is a B+ and not anything lower.
Yeah. True. Okay. I can see that.
So we can move on here. So talking about Jure Holiday, actually, uh, yesterday, Jure Holiday gets traded over to Boston. Actually, no, I think it was today. It was earlier today. Boston gets Jure Holiday in a trade with Portland, and Portland gets Robert Williams III and Malcolm Brogdon, as well as a 2024 Warriors first round pick and a 2029 first round pick from the Celtics. Um, for me, we'll talk about the Celtics, or we'll talk about the Blazers first, and then we'll get over to Jure Holiday just because we've been on the Blazers. I'm not really sure about this deal for them. And although there are some really good players, I hope they flip Robert Williams because I don't think they need him at all. Because I don't want DeAndre Ayton playing the four there. I don't think that would fit very well. I would love to see them flip Robert Williams. Malcolm Brogdon, he kind of has an injury history, and he failed a medical when he went to the Los Angeles Clippers, and that trade that was rejected because of that. He'll be a good mentor for Scoot and Anthony Simons and their other young core as well. So I'm fine with Malcolm Brogdon staying. He'll be good off the bench for them. Robert Williams, I see them making another move to get rid of him, possibly to a contender. Like I could see the Warriors going after him. Honestly, I think he would be a good fit there, and a few other teams as well. But Portland for this, I think they got a good haul. I just don't like the fit very much for it. So I'll probably give them a B plus for this deal because like I said, I like the players and the picks that they got. I just don't like the fit. I'm looking for another move or two in the future to get rid of the veteran players. So B plus for them. Sam, we'll go over to you for Portland side.
Yeah, so from the Portland side, I think it was a nice move. I wouldn't say A, I would say B as well. Um, I think that Williams, and they're going to keep Williams. I think he'll just slot into the four, and then you move Jereen Grant to the three where he used to play beforehand when he was with the 76ers and when it was with Denver. Um, so that will be the formidable front court with him and Aiton, the 4 and the 5. I like what they did. They just kind of loaded up on draft picks. Yes, they got that 2024 pick from the Celtics. That's the Warriors pick, which won't be much because we expect the Warriors to contend. So it's probably going to be a low pick. But then they get a 2029 first round pick from the Celtics. Ways away, but you never know what the Celtics are going to be like in those few years because they might win a chip and then decide to break it up and start the rebuild. So you never know. It's long down the way, but I think it's smart because they do get that. And then because it could be a lottery pick, it could be a low pick, it could be a high pick. You never know. For them, I think it fits them. Robert Williams is still young. I believe he's 24, 25, maybe
I think
23.
he might be 26 now, but
Okay.
he's still
He's
relatively
still,
young.
yeah.
He's in his prime now, so he's still a
Mm-hmm.
good player.
Yeah, he's still pretty young. He's 25. He's not your traditional 4 or 5 that can shoot the three. He's more of that traditional big man in low. Good defensive player, good rim protector. I like him. I think he fits with. He can definitely help on the defensive side to cover for Aiden, like we mentioned in the previous um, talk with the last trade. But all in all, I like the trade. I would say a B plus.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I just don't see Robert Williams playing the four. I know they played him at the five in Boston, and that kind of worked out well for him because he is a bit undersized. I think he's about 6'9", 6'10", but he is obviously a great rim protector. He can hold up with the best of the centers in the league. And they played Al Horford, who's I think he's taller than Robert Williams next to him at the four, just because he's more of a floor spacer. So if they do keep Robert Williams, they'll probably play him at the five and Aiden at the four. That'd be my guess. But
So they're both the same size, 6'9".
okay, okay,
They just played Horford there more because he could shoot
right,
and he can pass the ball better.
yep, yep. So we can move over. Actually, I want to talk about these draft picks real quick. So the 2024 first round pick via the Warriors. Sam hit it right on the head, the nail on the head. It's not going to be that great of a pick. It'll probably be in the 20s, I would assume, and the Warriors will probably end up being a mid seed in the West. So they'll probably be lower 20s, and if they get championship aspirations, we'll see. But 2029 Boston first, I don't really see that being that great. I know Jason Tatum's probably going to re-up for a $300-something million deal for another 5 years. I don't see this being that great for them. I see those Bucks picks as much better compensation, but overall, you look at what they got for Damian Lillard and the totality of everything. They got DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, 3 solid starters in the league. They also got Tamani Kamara, who was a second round pick this year. They also got 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. I think that was pretty equitable compensation in totality for Damian Lillard. Although you'll never replace him just because he's the best player in their franchise history, and Portland's not that free agent destination. They do kickstart their core, their young core, and their rebuild. So I would say overall, Portland did really well in this saga, and they didn't crack under pressure for the Heat, who offered them not even close to what they actually got, especially in the Bucks deal, and then they traded Jure Holiday for the other players and picks. But we'll move over to Boston. One thing, Sam.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. Yeah, Damian Lillard played there for how many? I believe what he was drafted there, and then
He was drafted in 2012, so I think it was about
2012,
10 years
10,
or so.
Yeah, 10 years. I would say, arguably one of their best ever players to play in Portland. I probably would say he's definitely I would say second best.
Oh, you picking Clyde? Clyde Drexler?
Yeah. And the fact that, and just the hindsight that he brought them a chip to Portland, or not.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
He won a ring in Houston.
He didn't win a ring in Houston. I just think they both didn't bring a chip, but I just think when we think of, I think you can go either way.
I'm picking Dame. I'm sticking Dame time. I love Clyde and everything. He was a great player for the Blazers and everything. He kind of led their franchise for the longest time through the 80s and the early 90s before he ever went to Houston. But, Dame, bro, he's top 75 player. He's 7-time All NBA. I think only 40 other players in NBA history have done that.
Clyde was also on the 75th.
He was.
And the 50th anniversary team. He was on both. He's also 10.
Dame couldn't have been on the 50, but yeah,
I believe Dame's a 7-time All-Star. Clyde's a 10-time All-Star. So like they're close. They're close.
It's definitely close.
I would pick Clyde. They both have only been on one All NBA first team. They're both 2-time. Dame was on All NBA second team 4 times and 2 times on the third team. Clyde was on 2-time second team, 2-time third team. So it could go, like you said, you could go either way.
It could go either way, yeah.
I would probably pick Clyde. You pick Dame, but I think either way, I think Portland fans are like, it's either one of them, really.
Yeah. I think Dame, just because I know he stuck with the franchise. He really, really wanted to bring them a championship, and although Clyde tried to do the same thing, he ended up going to Houston, winning a ring there, and he couldn't do it in Portland. He did team up with Hakeem Olajuwon, to be fair.
But it's kind of funny that it's kind of on the same trajectory.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Dame tried to win a chip for all of his time in Portland, then requests a trade. Clyde did the exact same thing, requests a trade to a contender, and here we are. Is there a possible chip coming in Milwaukee in the next few years? Because what? He was traded in 90. Clyde was traded in 95. He went that year. They won a chip.
They won. Yeah.
Is this a repeat of history here for Portland in trades? We'll see.
Well, to be fair though, the Rockets did win in '94 also, so they were going for a back-to-back there. But I would say the Bucks are on that level where they could have won last year. They just didn't because Jimmy Butler, Hemi Butler, So, but we can move over to Boston. Jure Holiday, they get Jure Holiday. That's kind of that makeup for Marcus Smart's loss of defense. I would say they're somewhat on the same level of defense. Maybe you pick Marcus Smart over him. I would say a lot of people would, but even then it's kind of minimal. Whereas Jure Holiday is a natural point guard, unlike Smart, and he brings that playmaking and that normal progression of the offense. I would say this is a huge pickup for Boston as they kind of needed that player. Although they have Derek White, who they could have played at the point guard, I would say he's better fit to play the 2. And obviously you're going to start Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and you pick up Kristaps Porzingis this offseason, and they have a whole new starting 5 basically, where it's just like great players in every position, and what do you do against them? It's like, who do you pick in the East here? Do you pick the Milwaukee because they just have that 1-2 punch, and they have Chris Middleton, the mid range, and they have Brook Lopez and at center, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate? Or do you pick Boston, who just have great players in every position, and they have two All-NBA players and another All-Star and Kristaps Porzingis, and then you have defenders and you have depth, and it's tough to pick here. I would say Boston. They get an A on the steal, although they did give up Malcolm Brogdon, who was a big piece off their bench, and they give up Robert Williams, who was arguably their best paint defender. I would say he is, but he was injured a lot of last year, so they kind of made him expendable, as well as bringing in Kristaps Porzingis. You didn't know how that fit was going to work. But I would say Jure Holiday is kind of who they needed to make up for that Marcus Smart loss, and you get to keep Kristaps Porzingis in this deal. You get to keep Derek White in this deal. You give up 2 first-round picks that you don't really care about. So I would say it's a big win that they got their hands on Jure Holiday. So A for me.
Yeah, A as well. You hit everything. Don't have to really talk much about it. You hit everything on the spot. Pretty much what I was going to say. My only thing different is, yeah, you give up Robert Williams because you probably had to in this trade. The question is, if Kristaps gets injured like he has in the past, and Al Horford is 37 years old, who's the backup? Who's going to come in for Kristaps? Because Kristaps ain't going to play 82 games, and Al Horford's probably not going to play 82 games.
It's got to be Al Horford, I think. He would be he's going to be the backup 5 this year. Like he'll be there. And I'm sure some lineups still have him playing next to Kristaps, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll probably start there, and then they can go small. But I'm just saying, like, if someone gets hurt, either one of them gets hurt. They have
Luke Cornett. He's not a quality player on any team, so...
No. Is O'Shea Brissett? He's a guard / forwards. He's 6'7". Yeah, he can't play it. Delano Banton can't do it. That's my scare. Like, when they go up, yes, because you see a lot of teams transitioning the small ball later on in the fourth quarter, but
actually they did just pick up Wenyen Gabriel today as well. So I think that'll be him. That'll be his role to be off the bench there. He played well in Los Angeles for the Lakers for a bit. I saw him in New Orleans. He's an energy type guy. He's going to work as hard as anyone.
I believe he played in Portland too.
Yeah, he played in Portland. That's when he kind of went on the map. He started his career in Sacramento, I remember, but he's kind of found a role in the league, and he played well in the FIBA World Cup. So I think that's another good pickup for him. But Jure Holiday, A deal. I don't think that's very arguable, but we can move in. Yeah, one more thing.
Yeah, I just said I wouldn't be surprised if I see Boston go out and trade or try to sign someone halfway through the season, because it could be possible and pick up a big man, because I feel like just having Cornette off the bench isn't going to be enough, especially when they get into those deep playoff runs.
Right. I could see that. I think Wenyen Gabriel just patched it, though. I don't see they really need anything else. I know they move off of Malcolm Brogdon, and they kind of get to play Peyton Pritchard a bit more now. I know he kind of requested a trade, but he was kind of respectful about it anyways. He's a professional, and now he's going to get that role he was looking for, because he didn't really want to leave Boston. He just wanted to be able to play, and he wasn't really getting that in Boston after Brogdon went there. So I see their roster construction is probably the best in the league right now, I would say. But we can move into predictions and going over the conferences. Sam, do you want to start off with the Eastern Conference?
Yeah. So for me, there's a lot to pick from the NBA. I feel like the East is going to be very, I kind of want to say more wide open than it will be in the West. I think the West will be tighter in consensus. I think with the East, there's like a few teams that are automatic for the playoffs, and then towards the bottom is where you're going to get, because you would agree with me that most of the bad teams are probably in the East.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at Detroit, who are upcoming. They're still not great yet. You look at I mean, I would put Chicago. They're not that great. You look at Charlotte, who's not great. You would look at Orlando, Washington, who just got worse. Toronto just got worse. So there's still some good teams in the East, but I would say there's kind of two levels in the East where it's, or three levels, I guess, where it's, you have your contenders where it's just Milwaukee and Boston and maybe throw Miami, but I wouldn't.
No, I
Um,
would say for me, Milwaukee, Boston 1, Milwaukee 2. I'm gonna go with. I think either one of those you could probably
it's
interchange.
tough. You could
You
pick
could
either
swap.
one,
Yeah.
and I think
Two,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's gonna be one of those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Miami's getting another run like they did this year, and especially even if Giannis goes out like he did this past year, Damian Lillard's gonna bring him in. He's gonna take him at least at minimum. I know. I know that they're gonna make at least the conference finals, at least
Mm-hmm.
probably the finals,
Probably
but we'll see.
third seed. I'm take probably gonna take Cleveland. Cleveland just all around team. They're really good in the regular season, but when it comes to playoff time, they don't have the floor spacing when they have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley out there. It's just you saw it last season. Yes, they brought in some key guys.
They brought in some shooters. You don't think that's gonna
Brought in some
help?
not until they figure out their big man situation of who you have in the last quarter of the game when time needed, because we saw them getting bullied by the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't know how that's
Julius
possible,
Randle
but
and Mitch Robinson, like they should have
the
pancaked them.
the
Should be
lights
a
are too
cakewalk.
lights are too bright, man. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So I got that. Yeah, I got them at 3, but they're not gonna make it that far in the playoffs. 4, I got Philadelphia. They still have Harden. They still have Embiid. They got rid of their coach for Harden, and that Harden wants out. But who knows if he'll probably still be there. 5, I'll take New York. Actually, no, sorry, not New York. Miami. I'll take Miami because
Okay.
they're gonna be back in it. They still have Jimmy. They got Bam. They kept Tyler Harrow. My only thing is Kyle Lowry going to be the point guard now again, or what are they going to do? Because they lost Gabe Vincent, who kind of took over the role for Kyle Lowry because Kyle Lowry's getting older. His shooting efficiency, his production dropped this year, so we'll see. Um, what was that? 6.
That was five. So six now.
6. I like. Um, 6, I like. This is 6 through down is where it gets difficult. Um, Probably at 6, if I like what Brooklyn did towards the end of the season. I like Mikal Bridges. I like bringing back Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's see if they can get Ben Simmons going to help. I like Nicholas Claxton. I like what they did in the draft and bringing in depth with Noah Clowney from Bama and Dariq Whitehead, who had some injury histories at Duke, but if he's healthy, he's really good. He can shoot the three well. He can get to the paint. So I'll take Brooklyn. 7, I think that's where I'm going to put Chicago. I have
Ooh, okay.
7 for Chicago. I think we did enough to cover our holes with our point guard issues. But this is a make or break year for Billy Donovan, I think. And for this, I think the core group of Rosen, Levine, Foose, Lonzo, and all them, I think their window's getting smaller and smaller every year, which I don't have high hopes for. I think they make the playoffs, but they'll get probably bounced in the first round. Let's be real. 8, I have Atlanta. That's where they finished last year. I just don't see a lot from Atlanta. I don't like their situation there. Um,
Okay.
it's just really weird. Um, are they committing to Clint Capella, or are they committing to a Kungwu? Like, make your pick. You have 2 good centers that would probably start on most teams. Pick one. You get rid of John Collins. I forget who they got in return. I know that trade was so long ago. You still have Adrian Griffin there. You were able to keep. Um, you still have Trey Young. He brought around. Oh yeah, they have John Collins. They traded him to Utah for Rudy Gay in a second, which
That's right. Yeah.
that's
It's
all
nothing.
you really.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing you could get out of that. Like, that there's so many players you could have tried to target on that team. You gave them up for nothing. They still have Bojan. Um, DeAndre Hunter just has been okay. He's a good defensive player. He just hasn't stepped up in the offense. Yes, they have DeJounte Murray, who I forgot about for a second, but he's still there. I don't know if he's on the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I think he is.
He is, so they have
I
to.
think he's on his extension, his rookie extension, or
Mhm.
his first rookie extension deal. So
Mhm.
he'll probably be asking for a max contract and nothing less. So we'll see if
I
Atlanta.
believe, yeah, and I
I think
believe
Okongwu same thing. So he's on his rookie deal, but he'll be asking for money too, and a bigger role probably somewhere else.
Mhm.
But he'll be restricted, so Atlanta could bring him back. But I think this is the last year of Clint Capella in Atlanta. So
yes,
we'll see.
same. So they have a big decision to make. This is when I said they have to make that decision. Do they want to go with Kongwu or do they want to go with Clint Capella? Or do you use Clint Capella because you know he's on the last year of his deal and make a trade? At nine, I have Detroit.
Really?
I like what they're doing in Detroit. I like what they're doing in Detroit. I think they're building the future there.
Are you forgetting New York here?
Wait, did I not slide
you had Miami 5, you had Brooklyn 6, you had Chicago 7.
Okay.
You had
okay, so sorry,
Atlanta 8.
Sorry, screwed everybody down one from Chicago. So New York at 7. Sorry, New York at 7.
Gotcha.
New York should be. I totally forgot about New York.
Maybe you put Chicago, but you're just a Chicago fan, so I was like, maybe he's putting New York above or below them, but okay.
No, New York at 7. They should be there. I think that's probably where they're the most inconsistent team every year. So I can never pick where they're gonna fall. I just don't think. I think their run last year was a fluke again, and they'll be back to crap in a minute, and people are going to be complaining. So then that moves everybody down. So then Chicago's at 8, Atlanta's at 9, at 10 would be Detroit, just on the cusp, just on the cusp of getting into the play-in tournament. I like what they're doing there. I like Kate Cunningham's back for a full season again. They brought in one of the Thompson boys. I believe they brought in a men. Or Asar
went to Detroit.
Yeah, they brought in Asar Thompson, which I like. They have Bagley still, but we'll see what happens with him. And they have a lot of good big men, which could probably start or play a big role on most teams. You got Marvin Bagley, who you re-signed. You just re-signed Stewart as well. You have Jalen Duren, who is a beast, who I've seen play live when he was at Memphis. He's a dog. I love that he's getting the start there. You have Bojan Bogdanovic, who will probably, depending if they're not doing well, will probably be a trade piece at the deadline for picks or something to a contender. So watch out on that. So I like what they did. Just outside, I have Charlotte, which you could probably switch Charlotte and Detroit. I like what they brought back Miles Bridges, who I think is a big piece. They bring back PJ Washington. I think LaMelo will have a bounce back year. And then the rest is, I think Pacers, Magic, Toronto, and Washington and Indiana are just going to struggle throughout the season. Magic, I think they just have a huge. I compare the Magic to Chelsea last year. Chelsea soccer team. They have so many pieces on their team and their roster. You can't play everybody. Like they just have so many just at the point guard position. You have Markel Fultz, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, R.J. Hampton. All of these guys were supposed to be the next big point guard, and they're
I think
now
R.J. Hampton's on Miami now, but
No, he's still on Orlando.
Is he?
I think so. I believe so.
I think he went to Miami, but
Did
go
he?
on. Yeah.
Okay. Either way.
Either way,
you still have those boys.
I signed Mac McClung too. Could be a good pickup.
Oh God, Mac McClung. That guy.
Everyone was getting hyped about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think RJ Hampton is gone. But then you look at it, you have at the forward position, you draft Jet Howard, you drafted Caleb Houston last year. You still have Chuma Okeke from 3 years ago or whatever it is. You have Franz Wagner. You have DJ Williams. You have Not to mention at the point guard, you drafted Anthony Black, a
Yep.
6'7" guard. Does that mean Fultz is going to be traded to him? But Fultz had a great year last year. Is Cole Anthony? He's a great six man. You have Jalen Suggs who you took. You have all these guards, and you don't have the space to play them. You have forwards like Jonathan Isaac, Jed Howard, Caleb Houston, Paulo Banchero, Mo Wagner, Franz Wagner, DJ Wilson. Like, that's 7 big men right there. Like, and wing players. You have Joe Ingles, who you brought in for some reason. The only thing you lack is centers. You only have technically Mo, and Wendell Carter on your roster. You got rid of Bobo, which I think was probably a bad idea. And you got rid of Mo Bamba. So 2 centers gone. Then you only have 2 left. So I just think Magic are just in that weird predicament. Washington's in purgatory. Indiana's also in purgatory. And then Toronto missing out on Damian Lillard and missing out on Jure Holiday, I think, really. And missing out on some key free agents and not bringing people back. They're probably going to be dead last in the East.
Wait, who'd you pick last?
Toronto.
Toronto. Really?
Toronto or Washington might be in.
They still have a lot of their core, though. All they lost is Fred VanVleet. They brought in Dennis Schroeder to replace him. You think they're going to be last in the East?
New coach.
I guess.
New system. That's it. If they struggle for the first 2 months, I don't think Pascal's going to be there. I think he's going to get a trade.
They still have Pascal Siakam. They still have Scotty Barnes. They still have Gary Trent. They still have a lot of other players, you know.
I just think Anunoby and Pascal might not be.
Anunoby too. Come on.
I don't think they're going to be
disrespect, man. That is disrespectful to Toronto. I will say. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Toronto will be pushing for the play-in for me. But we'll start with my Eastern Conference predictions. And first, I think Boston are going to win the East. I think they just have depth in every position. I brought it up earlier. They just have solid defenders. Boston's a tough place to play. And Jason Tatum is a renowned regular season player. So we'll see about all that. Number 2, I'm going to pick Milwaukee. It's just tough to pick anyone else besides them. They're going to be pushing for the finals. I would probably pick them as my favorite in the playoffs over Boston, but regular season, it's tough to pick anyone but Boston for me. In third, this is a tough spot for me because I know you picked Cleveland here, and Cleveland is a good pick, but part of me really wants to pick Philadelphia. And I think that's just because Nick Nurse is a really good pickup for him, and he is a really good X's and O's guy. If James Harden comes back and he starts playing like he did, right, they're going to be the 3 seed at least. Okay, is that going to happen? Probably not. So I don't know if I should even put them there. We're going to go on. He's going to come back because I don't think any team wants to trade for him right now. And he's playing for his next contract, so he's going to be motivated. He's on a 1-year deal. He picked up his option. So we'll assume that he's going to be playing. He's going to be motivated regardless to play. It's just whether he's going to still try when he's in Philadelphia. We'll see. But I'm going to put Philly third. I'm just going to put the Cavs fourth. Like you said, they have a really good roster. They brought in more shooting, which is what they needed. They retained Karis LeVert in free agency. And they just have a solid core that they've just been running back. Donovan Mitchell is still one of the best. He's probably the best, or probably the second best shooting guard in the league, I would say. And Darius Garland is still growing. He's still really young as well. So, along with Evan Mobley, they just have a lot of pieces. It's tough to count them all. In fifth, I'm going to pick Miami as well. I think they're going to be motivated. Everyone's counting them out right now, and when do we see them at their best? When they're being counted out. And even though they went to the finals last year, they're still being counted out again. For us, I mean, I'm doing it as well. I think it's a two-team race here in the East, and that's Milwaukee and Boston. But Miami loves when they're underdogs, so I see them being hungry like they do in Miami. In sixth, I also have Brooklyn. I like what they have done. They kind of looked like one of the better teams in the East last half of the season or so after the trade deadline. They bring in Mikal Bridges as a first option, and I think that's going to be a good experiment. And we saw him in FIBA. He looked like their best or second best player, as well as being one of the best defenders in the NBA as a wing. He could guard pretty much 1 through 4. I don't know if he can guard a 5, but they have Nicholas Claxton to do that. And he's one of the best defenders in the league as well at the center position. So yeah, I'm picking Brooklyn sixth here, and they're gonna make the playoffs. Number seven. So this is for me. This is where it starts getting tough because there's a lot of teams that could make it in, and like every year in the NBA, you can't predict everything. So it's 7 for me. I'm picking the Knicks here. I think they're going to have a good season, but they're not going to have as great of a season. I've kind of noticed with Julius Randle that he kind of has a great season, then he has a bad season, then he has a good season, a bad season, blah, blah, blah. It's just, he's a roller coaster player, really. And it all depends if he's making a few of his first shots in a game, because if he doesn't, he's going to keep jacking them up and missing. And that kind of just throws off their whole game plan. I like the addition that Jalen Brunson has done. He's kind of come in and been their first option, but Julius Randle likes to be the alpha dog on that next team. He thinks of them as his. So we'll see what happens. A lot of growth through the young players. So they could end up being as high as probably 5 or 4 on this list even. But they'll probably, I would think that they're going to be a play-in team. For number 8, I'm going to not pick Chicago here because they're not going to be making the playoffs. I'm going to pick Atlanta, and that's because Trae Young is going to have a bounce back season. I could have picked them higher as well. DeJounte Murray is all-star caliber type player. He's a 20 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists type guy. And if he keeps that 3-point shot going, there's no limit to what this team can do in the regular season, that is. In the playoffs, they're not going to make it past the first round. I think we all know that. Unless something crazy happens with injury and whatnot. They have some good young pieces as well. AJ Griffin has grown into his own. He had a solid rookie season. Onyeka Okongwu is still growing as well. He could still be a starter in this league, like we talked about earlier. And they just have some good depth as well. So I could see them being, again, in that next role where they could be as high as 5, but they're probably going to be in the play-in. And that's just because you never know in the East, especially in these below contender type teams, what's going to happen. For 9, I'm going to pick Toronto, actually. And I think that you disrespected them way too much, Sam. I think they're going to be a play-in team this year. They're not going to be great. And although they lost to Chicago in the play-in last year, they're still a solid team. Fred VanVleet will be missed because he was from that championship team back in 2019. He's a Raptors legend. But they bring in Dennis Schroeder, who looked incredible in the FIBA World Cup, and he's just a solid NBA player in general. We saw him last year with the Los Angeles Lakers and what he was able to do there, improving his 3-point shot, being a super quick player as he always has been, and yeah, he's also a decent playmaker as well. We see growth from Scotty Barnes, maybe. We see growth from some of their other young players. They still have All-Star Pascal Siakam, who can be an All-NBA player if he chooses to be. We'll see if he ends up getting traded, which could happen. I know the Atlanta Hawks were linked to him for some time, but they didn't end up pulling the trigger because Masai Ujiri is tough to deal with. And then in 10th, this, I think, is going to surprise you, Sam, but I think I'm really high on this team for this season. I'm picking Indiana Pacers to make the 10th seed here. You obviously have Tyrese Halliburton, who is an All-NBA type if he chooses to be. Again, we saw him on the FIBA World Cup roster, and he looked like the playmaker, defender, shooter. He's just an all-around great player. He can lead a team. I know he can. They bring in Bruce Brown this year, who is from that Denver Nuggets championship team. He was their 6th man, and he's going to be a really solid piece for them. He could start at the 2, he could start at the 3, depending on where they play Benedict Mathurin this year. They still have Buddy Hield, who I know they're looking for a trade right now, but if he ends up staying, he is one of the best 3 shooters in the league, and I will argue that to anyone. He's made the most threes out of anyone other than Steph Curry. I think he's been in since he went to Sacramento, which was 5 or 6 years ago. They have growth from Benedict Mathurin, who looks like a really solid NBA player even in his rookie season. He's going to keep growing into his own. They also have growth from players like Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Naismith, who were kind of written off. They still have Isaiah Jackson as a backup big, who is a solid player. He could be anywhere as a backup big on any team. I know the Celtics would love to have him, but they can't. But Jalen Smith, who was written off, and they kind of have a lot of players who were just written off by other teams. A lot of like outcasts, I would say. And normally, to me, those players are the hungriest, and they're looking to prove something. They draft Jarace Walker, who's going to be out for a little bit, but he looks like a really big steal at the number 7 spot there, or at number 8 spot in the draft this year. Obi Toppin, another outcast that they bring in from New York, who wasn't able to blemish in his role there. And obviously Miles Turner, who's been in trade talks for years, but has never been traded. So they're my 10 spot. The rest, to me, could go any way. I'll probably put Washington at 11. Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma is going to be so fun to watch. And although they probably won't be playing great basketball, they're going to jack up a lot of shots. Jordan Poole is going to average a lot of points, and it's just going to be that Bradley Beal show all over again, I would say, except it's just Jordan Poole instead. Then I'll probably go Charlotte at 12, Orlando at 13, Detroit. No. I'll probably go Detroit at 12, Charlotte at 13, Orlando at 14. No, I can't put the Bulls at last, bro. I can't put the Bulls at last. All right, Chicago 12, Detroit 13, Orlando 14, Charlotte 15. That's it.
Bro,
That's the final done. It's over.
The Bulls are not a bunch of scrubs. Like
They're not a bunch of scrubs. They're not.
They're gonna get some wins. We got our bench together. It's just our point guard position, but we'll be fine. We'll be a play-in tournament. We're not gonna be outside the playoffs.
I just see a year one Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan injury away from being the worst team in the league. So I could see it happening. Patrick Williams, is he still going to be an all-star, Sam?
Never said he was going to be an all-star.
Every Bulls fan said he had all-star potential.
No, he never did. He was a 6-man in college. He was.
So was Devin Booker, man.
He was going to be a 3-and-D player.
Devin Booker was a 6-man too.
Hey, Devin Booker was a 6-man on a loaded team. Devin Booker also could score too. You're comparing Devin Booker scoring to Patrick Williams scoring? Come on.
He's at least a great defender. He was a great defender in college.
He is a great defender still.
He's a good defender.
He's a great defender.
Stop. Okay, we're not comparing Booker scoring to Patrick Williams' defense. Just stop.
We're not.
Just stop. All right. Well, any comments on my list, Sam, before we move over to the Western Conference?
Other than the Bulls, and I think that you're selling low on the Bulls and the Pistons, but other than that, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty same. I think the Wizards are going to be terrible. They'll probably be last, and I think they'll be last. Yeah, I think they'll be
Jordan
last.
Poole's going to get up 20+ shots, and Kuzma's going to get up 15.
Yeah.
It's going to be
still going to be a terrible team.
It's going to be a Chuck fest, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to.
Their only bright spot is having Tyus Jones there.
Yeah, Tyus Jones is going to create some good looks for them. So, he's the best assist to turnover ratio in the league over the past. I think it might have been his whole career. So, or near his whole career at least. But
he'll probably get traded to a contender soon.
Trade deadline maybe, but we'll see. So we can move over to the Western Conference here. I think this is going to be this might even be tougher to pick, honestly. The Western Conference, I feel like, is more compact in the sense where all the teams are closer, and you can kind of interchange teams and things like that, whereas the East is kind of tiered in a sense. But, we can go team by team?
Yeah,
Sam, you
we
want
can
to
go.
start us off?
Yeah, we can go team by team, and just for timing purposes, we can both do it at the same time. I don't think why we can just go through and say
Yep.
if we agree with both, and then if we don't, we talk about it for a couple and then move on. For number one, I have Denver.
Yep. Same. Denver's champion. They have pretty much the same roster except for Bruce Brown. Like they're going to be amazing. Like I'm not worried
Mm-hmm.
about them at all.
Yeah,
And
they
regular season Jokic. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
and they bring in some depth. They brought in some depth in the draft. They bring in a veteran guy who knows how to win. Who did it at Gonzaga, and Julian Strother. I got to see him play live. That man can shoot. You bring him in off the bench. You could be another Christian Braun from last year, a guy that you don't think is gonna do something, but ends up contributing to your team very well. Number two, I have Golden State.
Ooh, really?
I just can't. I cannot count them out. When you have Steph and you have yes, Draymond Green's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain, um, but he's not going to miss much of the regular season, like the first start of the season. It's going to be preseason.
He's going to miss
and
the
training
first
camp.
month of the season.
He'll be fine, I think.
Chris Paul coming in, trying to change things up. Like
I just think the Warriors, you can't count them out.
No, you can't count them out. But I don't know
like
what
they
the
did.
2 spot. Like I don't know. I wouldn't put them there, but I can see why. Personally, I'd put the Suns or the Lakers here. I would not. I wouldn't put the Warriors this high. Just because.
I have the Suns.
Who do you have third, Sam? Who do you have third?
Suns.
Suns. Okay,
I think fair. It could. I think. I can't. I think the Warriors are going to squeak it out towards the end to get the second seed. But in the beginning of the season, I could see the Suns being the second seed. But I think you could switch those two. Those two are like the most two that you could probably honestly switch in the top half.
Right.
Between the two, just because you have Steph Curry, you have Klay Thompson, then you have KD and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. But let's see how this actually works out, because we saw what happened in Brooklyn with Harden, KD, and Irving. They only played 16 games and they sucked every time else because they couldn't play together at the same time because they were all injured or whatever. Let's see how this works out, because you have Booker, Beal, and Durant. No defense out of them three. So we'll see how that goes.
They're going to win at least 50 games, so I'm not worried about them.
Mm-hmm. 4. I got the Kings.
Stop, dude. Just stop. You cannot put the Kings above the Lakers, dude. And I hate the Lakers, and you have to put them above the Kings.
The Kings finished above the Lakers last year.
It does not matter, dude. It does not matter.
Literally, the King. I think the Kings are here to stay. They are here to stay. The Kings are here to stay. Sabonis is an all-star. Keegan Murray, has blossomed into towards the end of the season. De'Aaron Fox is running the show. I just like what they're doing in Sacramento. I can't not pick Sacramento. I like what they're doing there. Mike Brown. Everybody rips on Mike Brown for being being not a good coach. Come on, he's a great coach.
Who's ripping on Mike Brown nowadays?
Everybody, I don't know. Everybody ripped on Mike Brown when he was
maybe 2 years ago, not last year. That's for sure.
Everybody ripped on him.
He just won Coach of the Year.
Coach. Well, yeah, people ripped on him like back in the day when he was the Cleveland's coach. But I like what they did. They have Chris Duarte. They have Kevin Huerter still. They have a great backup in Davion Mitchell. De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk look like they're still in college at Kentucky together, balling out. Trey Lyles came in and just honestly, he was written off when he was a high draft pick, and now he's actually doing something well with his career. Harrison Barnes gets better with age. They bring in a JaVale McGee as a veteran.
Dude, I can't put them.
I like it. I like it. Who do you have it for?
If I don't have I'd probably have Nuggets, Suns, Lakers, or Lakers Suns. It's got to be one of those two, and then the Warriors probably. And although Draymond's going to miss a few weeks, I mean, you have to put them in the playoff picture. And
they could be in the playoff picture, but not at 4.
I would put them at 4. I think they're that good. Steph Curry's going to go off this season.
Oh, I like the Lakers.
Oh, Lakers? They just have a complete team. I don't think they have any weaknesses. What's their weakness besides health, okay? What's their weakness?
Point guard.
Stop, dude. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James. What else do you need?
They already said they're starting D'Lo at the point, which I think is a mistake.
Who would you start?
Gabe Vincent.
And you have Gabe Vincent off the bench.
Did you not see what Gabe Vincent did in the playoffs? And you start D'Lo, who couldn't shoot a three or a shot to save his life in the conference finals against Denver. Come on, or even against Minnesota, he was terrible. D'Lo, he's already gonna get traded.
He could get traded, but
he's not gonna be there that long.
They still have a complete roster.
They have the most inconsistent players on their roster, other than outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Tell me, when has Cam Reddish been a consistent player in the league?
He's probably not even going to be in the rotation.
He's going to be in the rotation.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He's going to be in the rotation.
All right, now we'll name them. Austin Reeves, D'Lo, Gabe Vincent. That's your guard rotation. Okay, that's 3.
Mm-hmm. What about Jalen Hutchafino?
No, he won't.
They took him high.
It doesn't matter. He won't be in the rotation. At least the start of the season. Rui, LeBron, Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt. Okay, that's 4 more. So you're at 7 now. Christian Wood, Anthony Davis. That's 9. That's your rotation.
They're gonna play. You have no wing depth.
Wing depth. You have LeBron, Rui, Taurean Prince, Vanderbilt. That's plenty of wing depth.
They're not gonna play the wing. You're not playing Rui on the 3 at the 3.
Why not?
He can't. He's not a wing player.
He could play the 3. They're gonna play Taurean Prince as the backup 3, though. We all know that. Jared Vanderbilt and Rui are going to be the 4s. Rui could play the 3, though, but he's not going to.
He can't shoot a 3 to save his life.
He can shoot threes.
Reddish will be in the rotation. They'll play a 10.
I don't think so. I think they're more likely to play Jackson Hayes than him. So
I got the Lakers at 6. I got the Clippers at 7.
So you at least have them in the playoffs. Okay.
I never said I didn't have them in the playoffs. I have the Clippers at...
Who'd you have at 5 again? You had the Kings. That's right. Okay, so at 5 for me, we're going to put probably the Clippers.
No, at 5 I had the Clippers.
No, 5 you had the Kings.
No, I had 4. Kings at 4. I had Denver, Golden State.
Oh, that's right.
Phoenix,
I forgot because you
Kings,
said Lakers at 6.
Clippers, Lakers at 6.
Man, dude, okay, all right, sure, yeah. I'm not picking the Kings at 6. I'll probably end up putting the Pelicans at 6, man. I have to. Pelicans at 6. Pelicans will be better than the Kings this season. That is my hot take, okay? And I know the Kings finished 3rd last season. I get it. Zion's healthy. Ingram's healthy. That's better than what the Kings have. So I'll take that. Along with our players getting older, getting some more experience, and hopefully we see some leaps from Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, and others. So we'll see. And Jordan Hawkins, we just brought in out of UConn, so he's a champion, champion. But we're putting Pels at 6. We're making the playoffs, and we'll probably end up playing the stupid Lakers in the first round.
No.
What's Sam? No. Are we going to get injured? Is that what's going to happen? Because that's the only thing that can stop us. That's the only thing that can stop us.
Probably.
Because we were number 1 in December.
At 7, I'm putting Dallas.
Okay.
I like Dallas. Dallas.
I can see that.
They brought in a true rim protector in Derek Lively. They haven't had that since Tyson Chandler.
You think he's going to play that much?
No, he'll be the starting center.
Starting center?
I think he'll start at the center. Yeah.
They're not going to start Kleba or Powell, you don't think?
No.
Dude, no. I disagree with you there.
I don't think they'll start Powell. If anything, Powell could play like the 4, but...
They're probably playing Kleber at the 5 and playing Grant Williams at the 4.
At 8, I like OKC. I like the future there. It's bright with Shy.
No Memphis?
I have Memphis at 9 due to the fact that who knows what this Memphis team is going to be and how many games is Jaw actually going to play. Yes, he's suspended for the first 25 games. Yes, you bring in Derrick Rose, who I love that pickup. They bring in Marcus Smart. But they lose Dylan Brooks, who, yes, everybody clowns on Dylan Brooks for being bad in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he was and even in the playoffs, he was a great defensive player. You saw him in FIBA for Canada. He was lockdown defender. He could shoot the three still. They're going to miss that. But all in all, I think Memphis will be 9 because you pretty much are going to rely on John Morant, and John Morant is going to be
Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson.
Desmond Bane. I think they can take the next steps, but it arguably I think comes down to John Morant.
And it does, yeah. And he's their best player.
There or not. Yeah. He can be suspended 25 games and play a few games, but then he might not be playing towards the end of the season like we saw this year, with him getting suspended every 5 seconds, or taking indefinite leaves from the team. We don't know. I think Memphis is a wild card. They can be in the playoffs in the first 6, or they can be in the play-in. They're just so wide. So that's
why I didn't like that Marcus Smart trade. If they had Tyus Jones, we saw the record with Tyus Jones and without John Morant. And,
exactly.
They were a really good team. But I'm picking Memphis at 7 here, Dallas at 8. I just think Memphis is a better all-around team, even if John Morant misses 25 games. Because we know Luka's going to miss some games. We know Kyrie's going to miss some games. And when one of them misses, they're probably going to lose. So that's just how I look at it.
And then for 10, the 10th seed, it's down to between 2 teams who I think it could be. I think this is my hot take for this lovely predictions, but I
know you're going to pick.
I have Houston.
I knew it.
Sneaking in to number 10. To number 10. I like what they did. I like the young core, and I like the veterans they brought in. I like Ime Udoka as a coach. I think he's a great coach. We saw what he did in Boston before he got suspended. You bring in Dylan Brooks. You bring in Fred VanVleet, veteran leaderships. You bring in Asor Thompson. You bring in the draft. You still have Tari Eason, who played very well last season. You have Jabari Smith, who played very well. I think Alfred Sengun is going to take that next step as that center. They just have young. They're going to be exciting to watch. I am high on them, just like I was high on Detroit. I got them at 10, and then at 11, Minnesota, 12, New Orleans. I just don't think they stay healthy enough. And then
12th, bro, seriously?
13. Well, hold on. 13th is Utah. 14th is Portland, and San Antonio is 15th. But I will say this: everybody from 12 to 7 will either be probably 1 or 2 games back of each other. So I think 7 through 12.
I can see that. That's how it was last year too.
Those teams that I mentioned, like, this is my early predictions for the start of the season, but 7 to 12 teams can be anywhere in that range.
Yep.
So they can make playoffs.
Yep. I'm probably putting in OKC and Minnesota and to wrap up my top 10.
Okay. Which I can agree with.
After that, I don't think Houston's making the playoffs or the play-in. I think they have some good additions, but 2 really inefficient scorers, and I don't love the fit with Dylan Brooks he'll be taking shots away from Jalen Green and Şengün and Jabari Smith Jr. Like, we'll see. But he's going to make them interesting. I will agree with you on that point. He's going to be talking. Houston's a hungry team, so I could see them getting into the play-in, but I just don't think it'll happen. Spurs will probably be last. Jazz in there somewhere. And same with Portland will probably be at the bottom as well. So,
yeah, it's pretty much the same with the Portland. I think it'll be Spurs, Portland, Jazz, and then after that, it's whoever.
I can't believe you picked the Pelicans to not make the play-in, dude. I don't believe that. Pelicans at 6, baby.
It all comes down to how healthy Zion and Brandon Ingram are.
It's how it is every year. It's a horrible time to be a Pelicans. Well, it's going to be a great time to be a Pelicans fan, but it hasn't been so far.
Zion won't play more than 50 games, and Brandon will probably play 6. And he puts on his Pelicans hat.
No.
But yeah, that pretty much wraps up our episode today on NBA. Yeah, we haven't done this in a while, so it's fun to do. We look forward to the season. I believe the season starts, October 24th, I believe? Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I believe it starts October 24th. Beginning of October is just preseason, but I believe October 24th is the start of the regular season, which I believe is the Lakers versus Nuggets and the Suns versus the Warriors are the 2 matchups. So on Tuesday, October 24th. So that's when the season begins, and we'll probably do another episode through preseason, just to see how the teams look, because we'll want to see how the rookies play before. We know we won't see the veterans play in the preseason. They might play like 1 or 2 games, but probably won't play that much.
Even if they are, it'll be like half the game or less.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they'll be like the first 2 quarters, and that's it,
Yeah.
or maybe like a couple possessions, like you see. But happy to starting up basketball again. I know we already have football, we have soccer going on, so we have a lot of stuff in the works too, and a lot of stuff going on right now. So definitely check us out on Spotify and YouTube at the Net to Net podcast. Subscribe and like. And Casey, do you have anything left to say?
Yeah, look out for our future episodes. Basketball, soccer, football, and we are grinding them out every Sunday. So leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you think, and who was right in this debate.
I don't know if it was a real debate.
Yeah,
it wasn't a real debate. It was a
who made the correct points, because I think it was me. But Sam's got his hand up, but we all know he's wrong. But
some guy that puts the Chicago Bulls and like trying to put them last and not trying to put them last. Come on.
They're not last, but they won't make the playoffs. Come on,
they'll make the they have a better chance to make the playoffs than the Pelicans.
Stop, dude. Stop.
We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, guys. See you later.
Peace.